But I do think there's something really beautiful about kind of allowing yourself to be honest with where you are, because God doesn't love who we think we should be but aren't, because who we think we should be but aren't doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Grace builds upon nature, and that pertains to us individually, so we can just be who we are, but also our marriages. And when we think our marriage should look a certain way and we pretend that it's a certain way, well, that's an illusion. It's nothing, so God can't work with that. I once heard someone say to me, don't ever compare your inside to someone else's outside.
Very good.
And that's excellent advice for the individual, but certainly for marriage. Yeah.
No, that's huge. And I felt like I had to fit in that box. That was it. I went in with this mindset like, okay, well, now I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to dress this way and I have to like fit into this Catholic mold, because frankly, I went in so handicapped. I was trying to be something or fill those gaps or those wounds or like the things that I lacked. I thought there was a certain like almost this persona and that like Kimberly Hahn kind of, right? And God bless her. She's amazing. She's helped so many women, but that's what I longed for and I really wanted. But no one ever taught me that. Nobody ever taught me. I mean, my mom was building empires and companies, and I was raised by a nanny a lot of the time, you know, and she was a single mom. And my father left when I was 2, and that was a mess, but I didn't grow up with a man around, but I grew up with a very self-sufficient, confident, business-like mindset woman mother, and she took very good care of. She did her best that she could. She handed down the faith to us. But at the same time, it was just like, okay, well, I learned at a very young age, you don't trust men. You have to be self-sufficient, and you have to learn the stock market. You have to like just be very like competent and be able to take care of yourself, because eventually he's going to leave you. So just be ready for that. Yeah. And I always, in my mind, always had plan B because that's all I saw. So what else was I going to kind of project in the marriage? But when I got to marriage and I really learned my Catholic faith and like wanted to be that stay-at-home mom. I wanted those things, but you just don't, like, it doesn't just turn on. You think something's going to turn on when you get married or when you become a mom, and their graces are there, but I didn't realize how incredibly broken I was and what I brought into marriage, which was really unfair for Jason. And if I actually knew, because I didn't find out till years later of counseling, like I had to go to counseling, and I found out that I was sexually abused when I was little, and I suppressed that. And it came out because I was struggling so much in marriage, and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why I was always so angry, and I was just like, oh, all the time. But on the outside to everyone, I had it together. I had that Instagram perfect thing going on, right? But man, I shut the door and I'd be a mess. But my message was still relevant. I didn't lie because it's never too late to start over. I did have I had this huge conversion, and that was my mission when I first started speaking about chastity, just screaming to the rooftops to young women, like, it doesn't matter who you are, where you've been, what you've done. All that matters is where you go from here. Like, God can restore you, can start over. You are worthy of love, right? No matter what's happened to you. But at the same time, this was like a whole new like journey God was taking me on of like, okay, let's really get into this. And it was ugly. And it was scary and it was overwhelming. And here I have a husband and I have kids, and I just felt so broken. And I would go to adoration and I felt Jesus kept telling me, well, do you need counseling? And I literally looked directly at the Eucharist and say, no. And I'd walk out of adoration like I was not having it. I just was not having it, right? And deep down, we all know what we're supposed to do. You know, it's about the obedience of following through and doing that. And I wasn't having it because I grew up with everyone telling me, you don't talk to people. You don't go pay someone because you're crazy and you have these problems. I mean, you must really have issues if you're going to pay someone to listen to your crap. You know, I mean, it was harsh. But I realize now after my healing, well, they want to keep things secret. They didn't want you talking to anyone, right? They wanted to fear you into that. And so I believe them. But once I did go to counseling and all of this kind of came up that I was sexually abused when I was a little girl, I made so much sense to myself, though, right? Why I did certain things, why I loved a certain way, why I had a hard time with certain things within marriage. And I made so much sense in that moment to myself, which was a relief, like, that's why, finally, you know? But then at the same time, the ground fell beneath me. And then we went into a deeper, like, dive of just, like, our own Gethsemane in marriage of when I was going through that. It was really difficult and really hard, and we didn't expect it, but it made sense, right?
Hallow is the #1 Catholic prayer and meditation app to deepen your spiritual life anytime, anywhere. Go to hallow.com/MattFrad to get the first 3 months for free.
Thank you for sharing that. So what was it like when you realized, oh, we're not just dealing with things that married couples dealing with, there's maybe more here?
Yeah. No, I at first you're looking at the fruits of the arguments, of the distance, of the difficulty to build connection and consistent intimacy on an emotional, spiritual, physical level. But I remember Dr. Bob Schutz has this great kind of image that typically there's a wound, and that's kind of the root system of everything. And if that wound isn't really treated and it's kind of swept over, lies will grow out of that particular wound of like, you're not wanted, you're not safe, you can't trust men, you're not enough. Those types of, lies will grow out of that. And when those lies reach maturity, they bear fruit. Whether it's during her high school years of her party lifestyle or just the distance within the marriage, you see all of this fruit. And it gets all the attention. And so you're sitting here trying to snip off the fruit, and then you wait a week, and then it just sprouts right back. It's because that's gaining nourishment from the lies that are rooted in the wounds that aren't being treated. And so whether it's pornography addiction or whatever type of fruit that gets all the attention, or self-harm or this or that, everybody focuses on the fruit, but we've really got to get down to that and disturb the root system of like, okay, what was going on? What lies have you believed out of those wounded places? And so, she was, operating out of that hurt without realizing it. And then as a husband, I don't think anyone, especially in marriage prep, God bless. I've done marriage prep classes for couples, and that's not really marriage. That's triage is a better name for what's going on there, of just like, okay, we got 10 weeks, let's get the house in order. And they're literally spending more time on their wedding preparing than on the marriage. That, like, you can statistically look at the hours, and it's far more going into wedding prep than marriage prep. But I don't think.
Thank you very much for watching that Pints with Aquinas clip. If you like it, do me a favor, click like and subscribe, and please offer a Hail Mary for the work of Pints with Aquinas and all the people we're trying to reach. God bless you.